The College Football Experience, College Football Playoff Reaction Show, and Bowl Season Reaction Show episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Bet Rivers. Claim your risk-free bet up to $500 over at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betrivers. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betrivers. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time tickets make the perfect holiday gift, folks. Download the Game Time app today and use that promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. And remember, as always, folks, too, let it ride.
This is Randy Cross. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Welcome to the College Football Experience, College Football Playoff Reaction Show, and Bowl Selection Reaction Show. You know, welcome to it. Folks, if you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Oh, I'd like to think when I sum up the 4-team and the 12-team, 80 years from now on my deathbed, I'm going to live to 120. You know, just gonna call out the sham that is the college football playoffs. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi-oh. Well, crack that open.
Crack it open. We are also joined by third man in the booth. Well, wait, let me give Patty C his music. We are also joined by third man in the booth, the DFS god himself. Give it up for, it's getting wacky over here. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, tobacco road living, the free lot giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. What's going on, guys? I'm going to try to play that beat. He should be on the committee. If Bosworth was on the committee, this shit would never happen.
It's true. Randy Cross, the introduction, Randy Cross, he's already been pretty vocal about what a fucking sham. Really, anyone, Joe Cribbs, fucking former SEC running back, getting in there. Well, we have the world knows this right now, but I felt it was only proper for us to react to the news that the regular season does not matter. In fact, we learned nothing from Florida State's. Why even have the ACC championship? Why even have games? Yeah, why even have the ACC? It's a good question.
Hey, don't that might come to reality. So hopefully, don't ask that question, okay?
So Florida State, and you know I hate Florida State growing up. Me and Nick, how much do we hate Florida State growing up?
A lot. And I mean, I think we still hate them now after some of the stuff they're trying to pull, signing contracts and then not wanting to live up to that contract and, bringing in Saudi money. Or I was about to say, we don't
really care for the University of Saudi Arabia, but Florida State. But I mean, what's right is right. They play on the field, and these games are supposed to matter. College football is supposed to matter. Why watch the games? And we get Florida State in the basically wins the ACC championship, 2-0 against the SEC. Both games, I believe, by double digits. None of them in Tallahassee. And they elect to put in an Alabama team with a direct loss to another team.
As soon as we saw Texas at 3, you knew it was coming. I mean, I think we knew it was coming anyway. I think we were trying to hold out hope that maybe they would do the right thing. But come on. I mean, they did the right thing for their pockets. I mean, they did the right thing because the people that run college football, this committee, it's not a committee of volunteers. It's not a jury of your peers. These people are put in place by the powers in college football to make the most money as possible and to put in certain teams from certain conferences.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that's the worst part about all of this is you're sold this lie. You're sold this lie.
That's fair. That
it's fair and that the system is correct. And
so who appoints the committee members on is it ESPN themselves who appoints the college football selection committee?
Well, since they own it, I would imagine they own the college football playoff. So I would imagine that's the case. They own it for the next 2 years at least.
Well, the fact that a corporation owns
right. That's ridiculous itself. Maybe they're a little biased. Maybe all the money they pay for the SEC, they want to get that, returned as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right there. That's a major problem, Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I projected this on the show last night, and you always have these people, and for the most part, I find them to be SEC and Big Ten fans that argue the 4-team playoff, and they constantly argue the regular season is a playoff, which I think has been proven that it's the most useless regular season. And this is Exhibit A now. Before it was UCF winning 25 games in a row. But there's so many layers to this. I could sit there and also talk about Arkansas getting a month of road games where they would never do that to other teams. But this, I think, would just all of a sudden gets pushed to the top. Exhibit A on the regular season being the worst regular season in all of sports, and all of sports. The NBA and MLB regular season, I would say, means more.
Gonna have to disagree
football.
with you. Well, maybe means more.
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah, there's a difference between best and more meaningful. Because our argument for the longest time is that college football's regular season is great, and the thing that sucks about college football is their postseason has been awful.
I bet if MLB had a 12-game regular season, a lot of those games would be a hell of a lot more entertaining.
Well, I guarantee you this: if a team went undefeated in the MLB, they would be in the playoffs.
That's true.
And look, I mean, people that know us or have listened to us for a while is that we've always said a G5 team that goes undefeated, they at least deserve some kind of chance to win the national championship, because in college football, it's the only sport where they have no chance. Now we see it on the P5 level is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought they would do this because the TV ratings. Yep. I thought the TV ratings, Alabama draws a bigger number than Florida State. You can't keep Washington out, which draws the lowest number of all of them from a TV perspective. You can't keep them out. And they have to have the SEC in there because they're too powerful, even though it's absolutely ridiculous that,
Yeah, well, the reason that they can't keep Washington out is simply because they had them ranked higher earlier,
And there was no excuse.
Yeah.
With them, there wasn't an injury they could blame it on.
And first off, they should be the 1 seeds. I could bitch about that.
Yes.
They should be the fucking 1 seed. I think
Much
anyone that
schedule,
covers the fucking sport would sit there and tell you, yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
And also, Michigan was a lot more convincing for a lot of the season.
But wait. They suspended their coach multiple times here. So, like, if we're going to put any stock into them cheating. Now, I personally think Michigan's shit is bullshit. I think everyone's cheating. But I'm saying, I love how, that matters. And then it doesn't matter here.
I mean, it's
You know
easy
what
to
I
be
mean? Like-
convincing when you're playing Bowling Green, Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, Michigan State, Purdue, Maryland, East Carolina.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Look, and I've been on record for this. I think the Big Ten is the worst Power 5 conference this year. I think Ohio State is down. I think Penn State is not that good. I think Iowa's not that good. And I think, Michigan was very fortunate to be in the Big Ten this year. Besides their shitty non-con scheduling, where they canceled a game at UCLA. And that's what I thought, I know Mike Norvell's comments have been out there and, I'm sorry, this wasn't Norvell's comments. We'll get to Norvell's comments in a minute, but I think their athletic director said that, well, I guess we shouldn't schedule aggressively moving forward. Because look at the other teams that are, doing this, well, especially Michigan and Georgia was in a spot where, now I know Georgia wasn't the one to cancel. It was Greg Sankey, but I think there's a strong point to be made.
Probably not the best timing, though, because the team that got in Alabama, they scheduled tough in the non-con, and that's why they had a loss. If they would have played Texas Southern or something instead of
Texas, would have been in two. They would have been in two.
Yeah. Well, then, I think if Alabama was undefeated, they would have got in over Florida State, and we wouldn't be able to bitch about it.
It's just the most
as much, at least.
Right. It's the most pathetic sport in a way. I love college football, and we have a deep love for it since we were kids. But it's so stupid.
How do you fall from 4 to 5 when you beat a 10-win team by double digits
and you held them to 6 points, a top 20 offense?
See that defense? The defense was flying around the field. This is the same Louisville team. Well, are they a great team? No, but they beat Notre Dame pretty good. They beat a bunch of good teams. They played how many P5s? 11, I think, or something.
Louisville played 11 Power 5s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another side of this argument that no one mentions on that fucking ESPN set. Guess what? Florida State has more Power 5 wins than both Michigan and Alabama.
Yeah.
And Texas.
Florida State
and Texas
had a plenty convincing, resume. The fact that it's being, like I said, I don't think I've ever seen in previous years, dating back to the BCS, obviously with like the Bowl Alliance, it wasn't always possible to get 1 versus 2, but since the BCS, where it was 1 versus 2 was the priority to schedule and the mandate, they never took, to my knowledge, a team with a worse record than another Power 5 team. It was always, okay, record is number 1 among Power 5 teams, the first point of differentiation. And if you have the same record, then you can use other metrics to,
they move the goalpost nonstop though, dude.
Yeah.
They'll probably say,
now,
they said that in 2016.
The worst part about all of this is that the College Football Playoff was created because Auburn got left out when we had 3 13-0 teams, right? It was, okay, we have to expand it to 4 in case there are 3 undefeated teams at the end of the year. We have that this year, and they have completely moved the goalpost so that all that shit doesn't matter, And now it's
it's disgusting because you're seeing TV execs run the sport even more. And like Rob says here, also, if Bama gets in over Florida State because of their QB reasoning, then why is Georgia behind Florida State? They both have 1 loss. Georgia and Alabama. That's a good logic. And
we know that Louisville isn't going to be on their 3rd string. I'm sorry, not Louisville. Florida State is not going to be on their 3rd string quarterback in the playoff game. They're going to be on their 2nd string, Rodemaker. That doesn't even matter. That shouldn't matter because they deserve a chance regardless. But look, Rodemaker is solid. He's been around a while. He's started a bunch of games. He's much better than that true freshman who was thrown to the wolves there.
Yeah. Well,
if you look at Rodemaker in the one game that, I guess stands out most about comparing him to Jordan Travis is they were down 13-0 to North Alabama when Travis was in the game, and then Rodemaker comes in and they hang 58 starting in the 2nd quarter. If anything, that performance shows that offense can definitely go. Obviously doesn't prove much since it's against North Alabama, but they still hung 24 on a good enough Florida defense,
yeah, I mean, look, you can sit there and we could play this game with Alabama only put 24 up at home against fucking Arkansas. Arkansas sucks. We can sit there and say that.
More recent, Alabama did not drop any with a very bad showing against Auburn.
Yeah.
Against Auburn, they need a miracle win. They give up damn near 250 yards of rushing to an Auburn team that the week before only had 65 yards of rushing against New Mexico State. The Bama D looked as bad in that game as the Florida State offense looked against Louisville. Did Bama fall back any? No, they stayed at 8, and then from 8, they make their jump up 4 spots to take the 4 spot. And as soon as we saw Texas at 3, you knew Bama was coming in at 4.
Yeah.
You know what disappoints me the most, though, is like Kirk Herbstreit.
Oh.
Yeah. I hate
what
him.
I mean?
He is bought and paid for. Okay.
I will say this. Like, I don't like maybe we make connections with these high end people at some point, and this is bad for business, but long term. But look, I fucking hate Kirk Herbstreit. Like, because I hate him because he should be the guy. He's elevated himself to be like the face of NFL and of college football. He knows enough. He's hip enough. He gets it. But when the moment comes, every single time when he's put on the spot, he goes corporate. You know,
that show was a whole sham. That show started off. You could tell just the way it started. They were doing everything they could to build up Alabama. Even having Georgia in the conversation was a way to help build up Bama because Bama just beat them. Why even have Georgia in that conversation? Nobody was picking Georgia to get in the top 4.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was just a freaking disgrace. And we shouldn't be surprised, though, because we know this. We know who runs college football. And going to 12 teams, it'll be good. It'll help.
No, it's still going to be terrible.
We'll still have major gripes. Next year, so what if James Madison went undefeated and Liberty went undefeated next year? Only one of those teams is probably going to get in the 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
and I think at least 2 of them, anybody that goes undefeated deserves a chance. So it won't be as blatant as it is this year, but next year I'm sure we'll have our gripes too, because there's going to be a shit ton of SEC and Big Ten schools.
Dude,
well, how many one-loss teams did we have in the group of 5? We had Toledo coming in. I mean, obviously they didn't win their conference championship, but I would say in most years, if you look back, you're going to have at least several teams finishing from the group of 5 with 1 or 0 losses. And like you said, only one's going to get in. And then the fans are bitching about 2 and 3 loss teams getting in. It's like, oh, we have a solution to that. Just put the 1 loss teams from the group of 5 in.
The most pathetic argument to me is what would that line be? If Michigan's playing Florida State, or what would that line be? What would that line be? And Georgia's a 14-point favorite already. You're fucking stupid. You're so stupid.
Yeah.
That
Underdogs never win.
Yes.
Underdogs never win. Vegas knows everything.
Yeah. Washington was just a 10-point dog fucking 3 days ago, and they won outright. Georgia was a 6.5 point dog at one point last week. They lost to Alabama. It is the dumbest fucking logic. And to sit there and say that, what is the point of the so basically the Alabama-Texas game meant nothing.
Where Georgia was a 6.5 point favorite.
Yeah.
6.5 point.
Yeah, but they lost. My point. Yeah. But what is the point? What is the point of the whole fucking season? It's a waste of a fucking season. And to queue up, look, Coach Leach is not here. If you're just tuning us in for the first time, Mike Leach was a friend of ours, and I could use some Coach Leach right now. So
I'd love to hear what he had to say.
Yes.
But the video you're about to play, it sounds like he made the speech today.
Yeah, because he knew how ridiculous it was back then. We've talked about this to him himself. Anyway, with no further ado, here is Coach Leach back in Pullman talking about the.
I love committees. Let's get us a committee. Well, who should be on the committee? Well, I don't know. This guy's a good guy. Let's have him on the committee. Well, I mean, there's people on the committee that don't even have remote associations with football, nor have they at any level other than being a fan. But you know what? Let's have them on a committee. Why not? And then we'll decide which 4 teams should go. Because you know why? We don't need to solve this on the field because we're the ones that know. And then, so, I mean, if we're going to do it that way, we should just ask them at the beginning of the season, just go ahead and you guys vote on it, figure out 1, 2, 3, and 4, and why even have the games? I mean, how can you call it a playoff when there's 4 teams? Conference champions don't even necessarily make the playoffs because you know why? Because the committee knew better.
I mean, how spot on is Coach Leach, who actually had some fucking brains? You know what I mean? You can't say it much better than that. You know, there's a conflict of interest with the people in the committee. This shit kills the sport. They don't realize that they have, I think, and I've made this argument. I don't even know if it's an argument, but I think they could have the best product in the country as far as the way people see March Madness. There's no reason why we can't have that here, besides the greed and corruption at the top of college football. And that's what ruins the sport. It's the only sport where I lose interest as the season goes along. And I love college football. I want to watch the Iron Bowl every year, right? But at the same time, I don't get excited for the playoffs every fucking year. Every fucking year. Now we'll watch. We're degens. I'm conflicted because we're just like, hey, football's on. Let's watch. I'll watch fucking any type version of. I've watched Japanese fucking college football before. So
especially
it's like
when you can bet and play DFS.
Yeah.
Yeah. When your season inevitably, concludes with disappointment, for and disenfranchisement for some of the fan bases, and really for an honest fan, it should be all fans end up disappointed with the product. Of course, it's not building toward a championship. If you can't reliably know that you're watching the best team win the championship, then what is to get excited about? Obviously, in the NFL, they do a good enough job where it's like, hey, there's pretty much no, and certainly March Madness. There's no argument that you've earned your place and then you've earned it in a tournament setting.
And even in March Madness, we bitch and gripe over the last couple teams that were on the wrong side of the bubble or the right side of the bubble. But honestly, if you can't get into 64, then your argument, you know what, if you're 65 or 66, sorry. At some point, there's got to be a cutoff, and a committee has to be involved somehow to make that cutoff.
That's why I went 32. You have to cast a large enough net with the scheduling. I know people laugh at me when I say 32. When you have the scheduling, advantages, and no one is holding them responsible for it. Michigan cancels a series with UCLA, right? Oh, they only played they played a lesser number of Power 5 opponents. No one's even mentioning that. How does that not fucking matter? If we're deeming that UCF, when they win 25 straight games, can't get to this other level because Power 5 teams are Power 5 teams, right? Then
instead,
why does it matter that Florida State's playing more away games? No one mentions that they play, same with Washington. They played more.
Instead, they use the word, which I hate, eye test. All eye test is basically code for personal or professional bias. Yeah. Fuck your eye test. Prove it on the field.
I mean, I suppose if you wanted to put some statistical measures in place or whatever metrics that could be, hard and fast, then that would be one thing. If you have to have teams with top 25 offense and defense, get preference over teams that have, one of the statistics in the bottom 100 or something, or whatever it would be, come up with some metrics that are reliable and are, easily traceable. Then I can get behind that. And that kind of would match up with eye test, you would think, but you're right. Eye test is completely subjective and can be twisted in any way they want to.
Yeah. And I mean, look, Rob, you're bringing up FSU scheduled North Alabama, but Chattanooga played Alabama. That if anything, Florida State was just copying what the SEC's been doing for fucking 20 years. Yeah. I'm not going to blame them, because if you're making that legal, then why not?
There's only one conference that's made the college football playoff every year.
Yeah. It's absurd, but I'll tell you, I fear for the 12 team. I'm already not excited about the 12 team in a way, because I know
what you're going to get.
I know this is going to happen. I know, like with the Big 12 and ACC teams, not even Group of 5, but like you said, James Madison, Liberty, or whoever, if they go 12-0, right? Someone's going to get left out. But also the Big 12 team, the ACC team, because they're not in the Big 10, which I think the Big 10 was fucking ass this year, right? They're not in the SEC, which actually was down a little bit. I think it was still the second best conference, but this is only going to happen. They're going to sit there and say, wait, Kansas State doesn't draw a huge TV number.
Exactly. Is it coincidence that all four of these teams either are or will be in the SEC or Big 10 next year? And the one team that was in the mix that isn't is out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, really, you're seeing the haves and the have-nots and the power start to separate from everybody else. And the power is SEC number 1, Big Ten number 2, you know, ESPN with the SEC, Fox with the Big Ten. And once that divide is only going to get greater.
This just reinforces that divide, because like when you're not given the opportunity to play for a championship, even when you've earned it, of course you're not going to draw as many. So they're just going to keep pushing these other teams further and further. Now, I will say one thing. If you have a guaranteed spot at the table, you know, which most years the ACC probably will, being if the Power 5 still exists, or Power 4, you know, a Power 4 champion, they'll get a spot and then they'll have the chance to prove it in the playoff. But even still, if you're getting 3 or 4 teams in, like, you know, they'll be putting for the Big Ten or SEC or both every single year, right, then of course those conferences are much more likely to emerge with wins and championships, and it'll just push the ACC and all the other conferences down.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I find this
will bleed over into basketball too, just because.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the one thing that fans sometimes forget is that this is, you know, college sports and college football in particular is a business, and there is a lot of money at stake. And whenever there's a lot of money at stake, the powers that are in place are going to do whatever they can to keep as much of that money as possible. And, you know, and fans are just screwed. Teams like Florida State are screwed. Teams like Central Florida in the past or Boise in the past are screwed, and teams in the future are going to get screwed too.
So what is our solution? You say an expanded playoff. What's another solution that could keep the corruption minimized?
Well, I mean, I think if they had they can't keep moving the goalpost. I would like to see something written. You have to play this many Power 5s. If we are deeming you the Power 5 above the Group of 5, which they have clearly with UCF's case, with Liberty's case, with fucking Marshall went undefeated one year, Boise,
Western Michigan.
Yeah, you can go on and on and on. Then be consistent with it. And I know that the other answer will be, well, you can't compare Syracuse to South Carolina. I would argue that. I think you can. If you got a Power 5, shit, I don't think there's that big of a difference between Syracuse and South Carolina most years.
Nothing's perfect. Sometimes, you know, the NFC North team that goes 7-9 squeaks into the playoffs because they're in a easier division. You know, it happens. But the more steps we can get to that point, the better. No system's ever going to be perfect. But yeah, 12 is better than 4. 16 would be better than 12. 32 would be better than 16.
Yeah. I mean, right. You said this year. I don't know what the final ranking was. I haven't looked back at it to see where Liberty finished, but I'm certain that they're outside of the top 12. And so, again, you're talking about a
23rd.
23rd, right. They wouldn't sniff a 12-team playoff. They wouldn't sniff a 16-team playoff. And
that's why you got to go 32.
Yeah,
you got
10-2 Auburn, or not Auburn, Ole Miss, you know, who almost lost to Tulane with on their backup quarterback. Missouri, you know, these teams would all be in. 2-loss teams that no one apparently wants to see, but you're still going to leave a 13-0 team out. There has to be more auto bids. That's what I was getting at. That's what
auto bids save everything. You got to get every conference with an auto bid though. Yeah. You can't do this, you know, because the thing is this: if you only have 4 auto bids, we know the Pac-12's over. In a 12-team playoffs, that means you have 8 other spots, and you know that's where the corruption is going to come in. You can't have that. You can't have the majority in the hands of the corruption. You got to have auto bids for every conference, and then figure it out after that. But I would like more guidelines. I think that's how you correct it. More guidelines. I hate that it goes to this committee that just, like Mike Leach said, they're not even qualified. They're not even fucking qualified to talk about it. Yeah. You know,
while I was pulling up those rankings to see where Liberty is, and it just dawned on me that this past week, Arizona jumped Louisville somehow. Arizona didn't play. So Louisville went down from 14 to 15. I don't know if this probably doesn't matter. Nobody cares. But why would Arizona jump Louisville? Just because Louisville lost to Florida State? I mean, again, this is like USC, Ohio State last year. Right. Again, a conference champ, or a team playing in the conference championship that loses could be penalized. Colby's mentioned that point a lot. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things here, but I don't see why Louisville would go down because Arizona didn't play.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a huge flaw moving forward with the 12-team playoff. You have these gigantic conferences. You know, what is it? The Big Ten is going to be at 18. ACC at 17, 16 for the Big 12, and they're still talking about expansion. 16 for the SEC. You're going to see, you saw it this year. I believe Clemson's better than Louisville. I believe multiple teams are better than Oklahoma State in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Because of the schedule, you saw that outcome in the championship game. If because you can't play everybody. When you have these gigantic conferences, someone's going to get the better schedule. It's just the way it's going to be. And the more you have the bigger conferences, the more you'll have that as an outlier. So they're going to be stuck in a spot with this, and that's what I'm saying. That's where the corruption will bleed in. You're going to have exactly that scenario probably. Louisville might be in the ACC championship.
We need to ask the fans out there to help us come up with guidelines that would help ensure fairness.
I mean, I like the no playing. I'm like all over the place on the FCS thing because if you play one FCS game, I've always said play it in the spring if you can, because I know that it helps their ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So yes, the FCS.
I think there's room for one FCS game on your schedule.
I would prefer that to be. It has to be in September. There's no reason why November you're playing a team like that. It's another bye week.
Yeah. But once again, no one's going to be in charge of this, so this is going to continue to happen. If I had to bet,
Colby, what do you think Danny Kanell has to say on the issue? He had a very good take on it.
Yeah, shout out to Danny Kanell from CBS Sports and the Cover 3 podcast. Obviously, he's a Florida State grad, so he was affected by this. But he's always look. Sometimes I'll not agree with everything he says, but I've always kind of thought he's shit on the playoffs, and I respected that because there's not many. Like I said, I lose respect for Kurt Herbstreit and stuff that are saying this shit.
Right. So Kanell has consistency. He's not just complaining now because his team didn't make it. He's been saying this for years, and that gives him some validation.
Yeah. Well, Herbie has consistency, and that he's a douchebag every time you ask him an important question.
It's a good point.
So, hey, Noah, do we have a clip from Danny Kanell, I think somewhere in New York City?
New York City. It's a darker day in college football because what we saw transpire the last 24 hours, really the last week leading into this debate, has been disgusting. It really has, but now the secret's out. Because I've been trying to tell you for 10 years, this playoff is a complete sham. It's not a true playoff. It's an invitational. It's a beauty contest where the participants are determined by the power players in the sport. The conferences with the most power and the voices with the biggest platform. It's never been determined on the field, and that's gross. Say I'm devastated, it's an understatement for what happened to Florida State. But I'll be fine. I got a national championship ring. I got to play for one. But for those players who are absolutely gutted right now, who bought into the lie that if they won every game on their schedule, they would have the opportunity to play for a national championship, I can't imagine what they're going through. And I hope they rally around it. I hope they go and smoke Georgia. But either way, I can't imagine the emotions they're going through because they bought into this lie that every game counts. Who's in? There's a legit debate between who should be the 4 teams in the playoff. It's not a playoff. It's an invitational, and it's gross. I'd like to think it's going to change with a 12 team, but it's not. You're still going to have those powerful conferences, and you're still going to have the 12 teams determined by the voices in the TV studios and in the boardrooms rather than on the football field where it should be determined. And that's wrong. And I worry about the fans of our sport who see right through the facade. Please don't go away. Hopefully it gets better before long, but don't lose your passion. I know it's hard. I know it's challenging. I know Florida State fans are going through it right now. But keep rooting for your teams, and one day we'll be able to get a legit national title. Until then, I don't even know what to tell you. It's depressing. It's disgusting. But man, remember the players, what they're going through. Keep supporting them, and we'll see what happens. If Florida State does beat Georgia, I wouldn't be surprised if they claim a national championship, because they should. Remember, Georgia is one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I would claim it even if they lose, because your team that makes the champion, that wins the championship, is going to have one loss. I mean, unless Washington or Michigan win it, but Texas or Bama, if they win it, you can get the claim you fucking won a national championship.
I don't even care what happens in that bowl game. I mean, is Jared Verse going to play? Is that other first round draft pick defensive line going to play?
Is Fentrell Cypress going to play? All those guys,
right. So I don't even care what happens in that game. And even if Georgia wins, I don't want people saying, I told you Florida State didn't belong, because right now that game is a meaningless bowl game like all the rest of these bowl games.
Yeah.
I mean, the use of, the after the fact thing to justify what's happening now based on the information we have now is stupid, and it's only used when it benefits them, like the UCF thing, right?
Yeah,
they won't acknowledge it. They won't say, UCF should have been in the playoff. No, you'll never hear an SEC homer say that.
And none of us are saying Florida State would win a game or both games. They might get blown out. Who knows? It doesn't matter. The point is that they're undefeated in a P5 conference.
We
and they
hate.
deserve a chance.
I grew up hating Florida State. You know what I mean? I hate Texas. I think Florida State and Texas should be. I actually have Florida State as the 2 seed because to me they've played more Power 5s. To me, like schedule wise, Washington should be the 1. Florida State should be the 2. The 3 should be Michigan. The 4 should be Texas. Or I'm even okay with building the case because Michigan canceled a P5 of Texas being the 3. But
I made the case that I think this year was probably the most cut and dry, easy to choose the 4 teams that should be in. Of course, that didn't happen like that, but I think it really was. It was. I mean, what more do you want? You have 3 undefeated P5 conference champions. Those 3 are in.
Wins.
And then between Texas and Alabama, and Texas beat Alabama head to head in Tuscaloosa. Boom! There's your 4 teams.
Yeah, the system exploded on the way out the door.
That committee should have took about 30 seconds to come up with those 4 teams.
Yeah, and
they probably did. They said, is Alabama in? No.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put
they got to be in. Look, and Danny Kanell, I really like what he said there. I agree with everything he said, but I will say this: Florida State fans, you might feel how Notre Dame fans felt in '93.
Very true.
That's a dish best served cold right there.
Very true.
I mean, this has been a problem that's been going on at the FBS for such a long fucking time. I'm going to get to more. We're going to react to the bowl games because the one thing I will say, what's up?
At least of the New Year. I mean,
I'm not watching them. I'm not watching the CFP. I'm not watching the CFP.
No early predictions, nothing.
Not watching them.
My problem too is why do you have the games on New Year's Day, which is a Monday, where everybody has to work Tuesday?
They've always had
this problem. That's a problem on the East Coast. Put those games on Saturday, man. Come on.
Well, don't they have a New Year's Eve game? Is that not this year?
New Year's Eve is Sunday night, so they gave that to the NFL.
To the NFL, yeah.
Anyway, look, folks, I want to tell you that the college football experience. We'll talk about those matchups if you want, Petty C. Even though I'm disgusted. The college football experience is brought to you by Bet Rivers. Bet Rivers is available in over 14 states plus Ontario, Canada. And look, Bet Rivers has some of the best live betting markets in the space. Their betting menu is second to none, including a ton of props. What are you doing, folks? Sign up with our link now to get a risk-free bet up to $500. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetRivers. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetRivers. Problem with gambling? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we are back on the college football experience as we continue to shit on all the sport. It's good, dude. I'm telling you, one of the best things to save us is the FCS is going on at the same time. It's hilarious. I'm watching the game Saturday. I'm like, wait, we got these games going here where I know they're gonna fuck this up. We got this. We got this over here where I know it's a beautiful system.
And you got snow coming down all over the place.
I'd be lying if I told you I watched any FCS this past weekend. I'm going to watch every game this coming weekend. Yeah, I mean, nothing else is on, but still.
But when you can compare them too, I also realize I have 11 TVs. When you can compare them both there, and you're just like, one system works, one system doesn't.
The contrast right next to each other,
makes
it that much more visible.
Let's talk about your little matchups because I want to shit on the bowl games, but okay, your stupid little fucking CFP that I'm not interested in. Michigan, Alabama, almost as boring as that Rutgers. Who's Rutgers playing? No. Maryland and.
This game will be outside, outdoors at least.
It's true. It's outdoors, but it's just.
Well, we all know it's going to happen. Alabama's going to beat Michigan, and whether or not, that, like we said, they will claim it justifies Alabama's position there, whereas Florida State would have, a harder time with Michigan and might lose.
How do we even know that?
I don't know that. All I know is that's
the arrogance happens. Of all these people saying they know what's going to happen.
Yeah, these fucking idiots. Hey, guess what? Auburn can't throw the fucking forward pass. And guess what? Alabama needed a 4th and 31 to beat Auburn. How do you know that they would beat Florida State? You fucking losers. I'm going to fucking lose my mind. Anyway.
Patty C, you're lucky you're not in studio. He'd smack the shit out of you.
Well, let me say this. If I was predicting right now, I would say that maybe Michigan has, like you said, Auburn was able to put that in check. I think for teams that Alabama is able to run through, you can afford to drop Milroe back and have him create and playground it, and not pay the price for it, and it'll work for you. But for a team that's going to stack up man for man with Alabama, you have to come up with a better scheme than that. I think obviously Texas could go man for man. Auburn is in the top 15 to 20 of the recruiting rankings most years, so they can probably stack up to a large extent with Alabama. I think Michigan probably stacks up pretty well with Alabama man for man, especially this year.
What about
Alabama,
South Florida?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Alabama
what about Arkansas?
Dominant. Alabama has not been dominant. They're not the same Bama team from 4, 5, 6 years ago where they're dominant. I mean, I expect this to be a close game. It should be a very good game. But I wouldn't just say Alabama's going to win.
No, I think Michigan will win. But I'm just saying the college football gods with SEC, somehow having a golden horseshoe up their ass, Alabama, or, the refs will put Alabama in the national championship.
I was about to say, golden horseshoe as far as what? Them just placing them there.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like they have to protect us or choose them over a smaller conference team right now. I mean,
so this is Michigan's reaction to Alabama getting in.
Yeah, having to play Alabama instead of Florida State. Of course, they're not happy. Again, we are proponents of whether you've earned it. This best 4 teams, I think that's fucking bullshit, because that's subjective.
Yeah. Oregon and Ohio State are sitting there like, wait a second. If Ohio State didn't play in the Big Ten East, this is all so stupid. I'm done. I quit.
Is it safe to say we're all very much more in terms of in favor of resume and who has earned it, as opposed to,
of course,
who we think is
earlier I said team. Fuck your eye test, Patty C.
Yeah, there you
prove
go.
It on the field.
Yeah. I mean, the whole history, the whole idea of sport kind of depends on playing it on the field.
Right.
What do you remember most in every fucking thing? What is the most, there's a reason why every girl from here to 10 Buck 2 is about to blow off Broadway Joe, because he fucking was a 17.5 point dog. All right. And he fucking won. No one thought the Jets could beat the Baltimore Colts. And guess what? The AFC was going to fucking fold. But guess what happened? It didn't because they won the fucking game.
Nobody thought UMBC was going to knock off a 1 seed UVA.
Yeah.
That's unnecessary.
I mean, it's just so stupid. Anyone that's for the, I quit. Like I said, I can't talk about it. Yes, that game should be a good game, but
here's
I'm not
something to cheer
excited.
you up. The bowl schedule. Now,
yeah, hold on. What did I talk? Washington, Texas.
Okay.
Washington, Texas.
Real quick, I think with Michigan and Alabama, I think Michigan will be a more efficient offense with more options. I think they'll move the ball. Michigan did the same thing against every single team they played all year. They'll have 14 at half. They'll get to like 27 by the end of the game. And I bet they hold Alabama to Alabama may do a little better. 27-21 Michigan.
Here's why I think Michigan can win. And probably, if I had to guess, would win, but I think it's a field goal game, is Alabama hasn't played very good quarterback play, right? Jalen Daniels, and we all know that defense is horrible. They won that one. Credit to Alabama. And then Quinn Ewers, the best 2 quarterbacks they've played, right? one thing I watched the Georgia game. That was a clear, area where I feel like Alabama won that game. I thought they had better quarterback play, and I have pretty decent confidence that McCarthy will be able to play at a pretty high level there, and not turn the ball over and hit
Lately,
accurate.
he hasn't been playing so well. The dude hasn't thrown for over 200 yards in 4 or 5 games.
True.
Now, maybe he hasn't had to, but it's not like he's been lighting it up.
Yeah, I'm just saying, dude, the fact that Michigan's defense is that all you need is someone that's not going to hurt you.
Someone who's going to convert a 3rd and 5 every now and then. A tough 3rd and 5, which he did over and over against Ohio State.
And I'll be honest, I think the reason why the SEC is down a little bit this year, and I think the reason why, in my opinion, the Big Ten is the worst conference this year of the Power 5 is the quarterback play. All their quarterbacks suck.
Yep.
Drew Aller, McCord sucks. The second best quarterback in this conference is Tolia. You know what I mean? Like it's a bad conference for quarterbacks. The SEC is similar. The SEC does not have great quarterback play. If you want to, I know
Other
the world.
Jane Daniels.
Well, I know the world thinks Devin Leary is the greatest quarterback ever, but yeah, Jalen Daniels is the guy. The rest, everyone's like,
Yeah.
But I think that can be a big X factor as far as Michigan. As far as Washington, Texas, that was a bowl game last year. Washington kind of beat their ass last year. Now, obviously, they'll be able to study that tape and everything, and maybe even have the motivational edge. That game's fascinating to me. Where's that game being played though?
New Orleans.
Yeah. Terrible.
Slightly benefiting Texas.
Why can't
I think everybody's going to jump on Texas, similar to the Oregon game. Texas is definitely going to be the public side.
I think that should be a good game. I think the dome helps Washington more than it does Texas.
It's hard to pick against Texas right now, but
I'm taking Washington in that game. Like I said last night, it totally reminds me of Oklahoma versus Texas.
That's the thing. That's the thing when breaking down Texas. Their secondary has not been very good this year. Now, no one's been able to exploit it besides Oklahoma and Houston of all teams.
Because they played a shit ton of bad or backup or both quarterbacks.
They played 7 backup quarterbacks out of their 12-game schedule. And then you took like this past game, they beat the shit out of Oklahoma State, but I still thought there were plays if you watch the game. Now, Oklahoma State's defense couldn't do anything against Texas's offense. But there was some open wideouts deep. I still believe that's how you beat them. And I think having Michael Penix, it's a great start. Having those wideouts, I think could really, really cause a lot of problems with Texas's defense. Now, that being said, I also think Texas's offense might be able to eat against Washington's defense.
They will. That's going to be a shootout. But
we'll break these games down in more depth. We got a month before these games, kick. So we'll get to those, but sorry, Patty, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Off the top, though, that stat that they rattled off against or during the conference championship game against about Texas yards after contact, that defensive front really being stout, and you're not moving the rock after they make contact with you. That gets nullified to an extent by Washington really opening up the run lanes by spreading the field and forcing the defense to drop back. And then having a running back like Johnson, he's going to he's not like Blake Corum, that's going to get yards after contact. He is going to gut you, and then he's going to be down. I mean, granted, he can still get his yards after contact, but he is so fast that it's a wide open and fast offense. And I don't know that Texas is particularly designed to stop that. I think they're great at shutting down the trenches. I think they do great at shutting down Michigan. I think against Washington, I think they'd have a much tougher time.
You think this line goes up?
Thing.
Think it goes up. Think it goes to 5 or 6 or so.
It opened at what?
4. Well, it's at 4 right now. I mean, earlier this morning it might have opened at something different.
If it does, you got to jump on Washington.
Well, that's the thing. Another thing to me was that Michael Penix ran a lot more at Indiana than he does at Washington. I think it might be a game where Dylan Gabriel kind of shredded them rushing the ball, not on designed runs. I'm talking about he dropped back, and then after a few successful deep passes, he was able to run the ball. Maybe that's something for Penix to do here, and that's an edge, a mobile quarterback, because that's another thing. Is they played a lot of statues.
Well, that's the difference between Washington and Penix, and then Milroe and Alabama is that they were able to maintain the deep threat, whereas Alabama's, use of Milroe's legs is by design, and is a complement to their running game, without the deep threat being a threat. But if you have to respect the deep ball, then Texas can be exploited by the quarterback's legs. But if they're not, dropping their players to cover you, then you're not going to exploit them, which Alabama wasn't able to.
I think Washington will have success against Texas's defense.
There's also rumors that Penix had a kind of a hurt shoulder, and we know McMillan, one of their best receivers, was just coming back. I mean, give them a few weeks to get really healthy too. And maybe Penix will run more if that shoulder is 100%.
He doesn't even need to be like running for first downs, but eluding defenders and stretching the play.
He doesn't need to be Jalen Milroe.
Yeah. All right, look, I'm going to talk about the rest of the bowl games because I might have a few. The bitching doesn't stop here on the college football experience. Folks, I want to tell you the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long. They got NFL, they got NBA, they got NHL, they got college basketball, and you better believe they got the rigged sport of college football. Simply pick high or low on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCE SGPN. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code TCE SGPN. We're also brought to you by Game Time. What are you doing, folks? Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be that stressful. You're out there at the Brawl of the Wild, right? Fucking, you didn't know if you're going to get in or not. You were stressing it out. Well, next time, just open up the little phone app to Game Time and you're good, because it's the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater that is near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you'll be having at that very event. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Game Time tickets make the perfect holiday gift, too. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, now I get to shit on. It's like they can't get anything right, man. It's like they can't get just a little direction would be just amazing. But this sport that we love so much is a complete fucking mess. The bowl games were announced today, and I thought they couldn't do a worse job aligning these teams. I'm going to build this case, guys, on this. I'm going to go team by team. All right.
This could take an hour.
No. This will be like, I'm not going to go through every single team, but I'm saying, how do they fuck this up? How do they fuck this up so much? One thing I hate, bowl tie-ins. Yeah. It is one of the worst things for college football. Bowl tie-ins. The sport has changed, so you should get rid of tie-ins because you see opt-outs. You see coaches leaving. So I'll start off from the start. If you have a coach that has left, they should be playing another team that a coach has left.
I like it.
How easy is this to fucking... It took me all of 3 minutes today to figure this out. Hey, guess what? Maybe Texas A&M should play Oregon State. Maybe you want to do JMU against either Duke or Syracuse. Just an idea. Because last year watching Oregon State's whole team against Florida without 35 guys, kind of useless. Just like the college football regular season now.
Well, it's also so hard to handicap those games.
So
you don't know. You don't know
again?
what coach. It's so hard to handicap those games because you don't know, the motivation. You don't know the coach is gone, players are gone. So if you can put two teams together where the coach is gone, that makes perfect sense because then that means you can put two teams together where the coach isn't gone, and maybe they'll care. Maybe they'll try to win.
And like backups against backups, you can't argue. Then it's competitive. It's like, oh, this is going to be great.
Instead of having two shit bowls, you can have one shit bowl and one decent game.
Exactly. Bingo.
And the elephant in the room here on some of these ones that. So I'm going to play a little game with you on what they should have done here. All right. Let's start off with. they matched up Georgia and Florida State. I'm okay with that one. Are you guys okay with that one? Even though we know,
I love it. I love that.
It's not going to mean anything because, like NC Nick said, Jared Verse probably not going to play. Fentrell Cypress, they're probably not going to play because that game means nothing. And
to either team.
Yes, Georgia will have guys out too.
I disagree with you guys on that one. I think
what do you mean?
Means a massive.
We saw this last year though.
To Florida State.
Okay, but Georgia
and
will
I
have
think
guys
it probably
out.
means a lot to Georgia too. You know,
dude,
I bet you both teams. I mean, if you're Verse or who's the other D lineman that transferred from Western Michigan, those guys are first round draft picks.
To do that for the NFL, you might be right.
Dude, you're crazy. Look at last season. Last season, you had it wasn't exactly Florida State scenario, but you had teams in Georgia's scenario where there's tons of players. They're already talking about Keon Coleman's not going to play.
And Johnny Wilson.
Really?
Yeah. Why play?
Boy.
Especially if you're Florida State. You're probably pissed off. You're like, what the fuck? We don't get a chance. I'm not going to play this bullshit, meaningless exhibition game.
That sucks. That's tough. Yeah, you would think, the opportunity.
Brock Bowers.
You broke up there.
Yeah, Brock Bowers. I'm guessing you said Brock Bowers ain't playing. That's a huge L. Yeah, when you take the best players out of a game like this. Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
I think I'm saying that Brock Bowers isn't going to play in this game. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Are we confirmed on that, or is that?
No, I'm just saying it.
Well, no, I mean you don't have to go that far though, guys. Like I said, last year you had 10-win teams in bowl games, key bowl games that were old school key bowl games. Had big time players that sat out.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is creeping up to essentially, I would imagine every single game except the Georgia-Florida State game, and probably even to Georgia, since no one really is considering them worthy of the college football playoff. They might have dudes sitting out, but Florida State probably has a massive chip on their shoulder. I would expect everyone to show up, but if they don't, then that is the biggest
why would
indicator.
they? Like, look, I understand that point for old school football, but I'm saying, like, if you're an agent, you're going to be talking to Keon Coleman. You're saying, "What the fuck you doing, dude? You're gonna be a fucking top 15 pick." You know what I mean? Like, I don't expect them to do that. Yeah. Then you have, I don't know. I thought they did a good job pairing them, but once again, there's no stakes. So I think you'll probably end up with players out for both teams.
Yep.
Moving along. So I thought I don't even have a problem with Liberty and Oregon.
That's a pretty good matchup. I mean, I'm glad they gave Liberty probably the most competitive team remaining in the New Year's Six. Let's see. It's a very real chance that Notre Dame and BYU from their couches at home watch Liberty become the first predominantly religious school to win a BCS New Year's Six bowl since the start.
I do like the game, though. It's a fun game of, powerful offenses.
Yeah.
They might have got that one right.
Now, and how many Oregon players are going to sit out?
Probably a lot.
I think Liberty probably will have less players sitting out because they're probably not on the NFL radar.
Yeah, and they want a chance. They want a chance to knock off somebody like Oregon, sure.
Let's continue to move along. The next one, to me, I think
there's one more thing we won't have to deal with. We might have to with the group of 5 teams, but those being left out and then discounted despite winning their New Year's Six bowl game or BCS bowl game. Because the other team supposedly didn't want to be there, a la UCF.
Right. It's a no-win situation. If they lose this, I told you they didn't belong. If they win, it's like, the Power 5 team didn't care.
Yeah.
It's a no-win scenario.
Can we stop having that?
Yeah. You're gonna send me down that again. Well, there's also speaking of UCF, let's talk about this. And what are you serving up for us, Noah? Committee went. Brad Powers tweeting out, committee went most deserving with unbeaten Liberty over 2-loss SMU. However, SMU would be favored over Liberty on a neutral, even with a backup quarterback. Is it the best or most deserving, or just whatever we want? Exactly. Exactly.
Well said.
Yes, folks. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Watch this. And NC Nick, you have Norvell's comments, by the way.
Yes. You want to hear them?
Sure. I mean, before I dive more into bowl games, because I want to shit on some more of these bowls.
All right. What did Norvell say here? It's pretty long here, so bear with me, and hopefully my internet doesn't go out. I am disgusted and infuriated with the committee's decision today to have what was earned on the field taken away because a small group of people decided they know better than the results of actual games. What's the point of playing games? Do you tell players it's okay to quit if someone goes down? Do you not play a senior on senior day for fear of injury?
There we go.
There
we
you
got it.
go. I was sorry. I was getting out of breath there. You can read it for yourself.
Yeah, youtube.com/the college experience. Where is the motivation to schedule non-conference or challenging non-conference games? We are not only an undefeated P5 conference championship, but we also played 2 P5 non-conference games away from home and won both of them. I don't understand how we are supposed to think like this. Or I'm sorry, I don't understand how we're supposed to think this is an acceptable way to evaluate a team. He's 100% right. Mike Norvell
also went on to say that we were cheated today, and it's a sad day for college football. And
it is.
It is. He's 100%
but
correct.
We've had lots of sad days for college football, and so I'm glad in a way that this is getting exposed, even though we've been saying it for years. Yeah, it's been happening since the beginning of time. I wanted to touch base. Speaking of staying in the state of Florida, so you have UCF. They made a bowl. You have Miami, who made a bowl. Why the fuck are they not playing?
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. They fail us. They gave us Miami and Rutgers.
That game sucks.
They gave us UCF and Georgia Tech, which we've seen over the past 2 seasons.
That game kind of sucks too.
It's unbelievable fails
The
everywhere.
same argument that makes them choose regional teams to play in these bowl games, is the argument they use to keep obvious teams playing against each other and what would have in-state, bragging rights on the line, which would make the game actually compelling. And they choose not to. That's the reason they don't do it.
It's mind-boggling because TV execs are in charge. You were like, we could. You're already fucking up. You're already fucking this thing up. So if you're going to fuck it up and give us competitive matchups because Florida State's quarterback's out, Alabama will be more competitive against Michigan. Well, fuck. Can you do it for the bowl games too then? If this is the logic you're going to use.
It's about the entertainment, make it fucking entertaining.
Well, and I know Noah says UCF played Florida 2 years ago, and I'll have the folks know that was one of the most highest rated bowl games that year. So you would think if you took UCF in Miami,
Florida, so they don't want to see that again.
Yeah, if you took UCF in Miami, might make a little bit more sense from a rating standpoint. Oh, do I have to continue from there because I can make a case for Bedlam 2.0? Oh, we're never going to have this again. Guess what? Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Wouldn't that be great if you put them again in a bowl game? Oh, they're from the same conference. You can't do that. Why not? They're not going to be in the same conference in a few months here. Just make it happen. Make it happen. Bowl tie-ins are the devil. Or look, if you don't want to put Miami against UCF, if you're adamant on that, how about Utah at Miami? I think that kind of a culture clash. Or Notre Dame against Miami. Oh, that was a long time rivalry. We would love to see that.
Catholics versus convicts 2.0. Let's do it.
There's documentaries made about it, but no, you shit the bed, right? How about this one? You put SMU to play Boston College. First off, that game makes me fall asleep when I just think about it. Right?
Hey, that's a future ACC matchup next year.
That's my beef. We're gonna see this next year, right? And if not next year, then the year after, because everyone's gonna be playing each other in the ACC. What you could have done,
SMU A&M,
exactly, where they hate each other, where all this animosity over the years. SMU, Texas A&M. If you're not gonna do the coach thing that I said, where you should line up A&M with Oregon State. SMU, Texas A&M makes sense. I would also say SMU and
the Eric Dickerson Bowl.
Yes,
that would have been freaking phenomenal.
Oh, I guarantee you, we'd all be super excited about it. How about SMU and Ole Miss? That would be super exciting. I can go team by team here, and I did on a lot of these. I spent a solid 50. And by the way, I love how they're like, yeah, we're working all throughout the night to come up with these. It took me 15 minutes. 15 fucking minutes, you bunch of fucking losers, right? How about this one? How about let's take the likes. We're getting Virginia Tech, right? Against who did Virginia Tech draw again?
Tulane.
It is Tulane. That is ridiculous to me. Tulane deserves to play a better team than Virginia Tech.
11-2 versus 6-6.
Just stupid. That is a waste of a game.
They want Virginia Tech because that game is in Annapolis, Maryland, and the Virginia Tech crowd will travel up for it. They're in the DC area anyway. They don't even have to travel that far.
And you ready for this? Tulane lost their head coach. So, you know what we do? Duke and Tulane. Hey, James Madison lost their head coach. Syracuse lost their head coach. We have a perfect scenario here. There's 6 coaches out. That's what we line up with. Even though I think Tulane, North Carolina would have been pretty cool because of the uniform matchups. But with North Carolina, what did I do? See, because they have North Carolina
blue on the field.
Yeah. They have North Carolina paired with who right now? They have them playing West Virginia. I don't hate this game. It's okay. But
until Drake May doesn't play.
That's true. But how about this? You could do North Carolina versus Maryland. They almost played every year for about 100 years. Could have done that
one. End up putting
right?
Maryland against I feel like
Maryland is playing Auburn. Total fucking snooze fest, right?
Biggest snooze
how about
ever.
that? Auburn. Okay, let's think about this, folks. Let's think about this. With Auburn, let me think the first. No. Troy would be one. But the first one that came to my mind was Louisville, because Louisville is Auburn of the ACC. They both are dirty ass programs, right? That will do anything to win, right? Here's another one. Auburn versus West Virginia. I think that one's kind of cool. Auburn versus USC. Auburn versus Oklahoma State. Auburn versus Troy. No. Instead, you give us Auburn versus Maryland. No one gives a fuck about that game.
And you're right about that. The bowl tie-ins, because they are based on pecking order, so the Citrus Bowl, what's the other, the Pop-Tart, I don't know. Whatever the Gator Bowl became.
Yeah.
Those are going to get the top 2 Big Ten and SEC teams that aren't in the New Year's Six.
These are epic fails.
Yeah, well, you're just going to get similar matchups all the time, and then B, it limits the flexibility that allows you to make cool matchups. You're like pigeonholed into these like stupid ass matchups, and he's like, all right, well, I guess from a business standpoint, the bowls have to make these pre-alignments, so that they can work out the business end of it. But
no. From a business standpoint, you should be trying to make the most money fucking possible. And giving a snooze fest like this, okay, yes, we will gamble on these. But like I said, the UCF Florida game from 2 years ago is one of the most watched bowl games for a fucking reason. Because people want to see that. Orlando fans want to see them play the Gators.
Yeah.
Oh, you fucking loser. So
the bowl committee, I don't know if it's just the bowls have like their contracts worked out where it's like, hey, we have the number 3 SEC team, you have the number 2, Big Ten team or whatever, and this is how we're gonna arrange this, and here are the payouts from these that each conference is gonna get, et cetera, et cetera. I think there should be flexibility within that. I think that whatever committee that's making these bowl games happen should be flexible enough to, make the money work however they're going to make it work. But for God's sake, give us the most compelling matchups, not Auburn versus Maryland.
No, they botched all of these, dude. They really botched all of these. Wisconsin LSU is a fucking snooze fest. What they could have done, in my opinion, LSU versus Ohio State, LSU versus Penn State, LSU versus Oklahoma State. Oh, interesting, right? No, they give us Wisconsin LSU.
That game kind of sucks.
Yeah, let's talk about Missouri. Oh, what did they give Missouri again? We got Missouri and Ohio State. I think they failed us again because I think Missouri, Iowa is better. I think Missouri, Kansas. Remember, that's a long time rivalry. They used to play that fucking thing forever.
Well, the thing about that is Missouri has punched their ticket to and I actually respect them for that. But the New Year's Six, they are kind of required to take the top teams in order, that did not qualify for the college football playoff. So they're not going to just take the powers that, they're not going to stick Oklahoma in there this year, even though they're a bigger brand than Missouri.
But wait a second. But LSU should be playing. Why not LSU play Ohio State then? Because LSU beat Missouri head to head.
Well, right now, Missouri isn't even playing on New Year's Day. They're playing on the 29th.
Well, they're still part of the New Year's Six Bowl.
See, this is stupid though, because if we're deeming losses don't mean anything, then you can do whatever. We see it right now with Alabama in the playoffs, right? LSU has a head-to-head win against Missouri. Put LSU against Ohio State. It'll be better for the fans. Missouri, you could pair them with Iowa or Kansas. Better for the fans.
I think what we're talking about right now is pretty subjective. I'm not going to lie.
But still, Colby's broader point is taken.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, you can do this.
Always botch it. Like them.
I am not, dude. I went through this bowl thing and I go, These games all suck. There's like 2 games that I'm intrigued by, right?
Yeah.
How do they fuck that up that much? How do they fuck that up?
I think in general you want to try to get rivalries or like border battles or in-state games, something to make it more fun than some random teams playing each other sometimes, especially if there's coaches gone and players gone. Then you really need something for people to tune into other than just us degenerates that want to gamble.
They give us Oregon State with no coach, no running back, no quarterback against Notre Dame.
They gave us.
What are we doing here?
I feel like those two played in a bowl game recently.
A Fiesta Bowl with Jonathan Smith. Right? It would have been great if Jonathan Smith was their head coach.
Yeah, just a couple years ago they played. Yeah, why match them up?
What do you mean? That wasn't a couple years ago. It was like 20. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
But Noah, what is this video?
Tony the Tiger.
Yeah. What am I seeing here? YouTube.com/The College Experience. They didn't even have Notre Dame's helmet at the Sun Bowl presser. Hilarious.
Tell our president to tell him now. Don't mess it up. The Fighting Irish of Notre Dame.
We're just bitching a lot right now. But
what are you talking about? We're bitching because that's a terrible game.
What, Oregon State, Notre Dame? I think that's a decent game. But
do you know Oregon State doesn't have DJU or Damian Martinez or Jonathan Smith or their offensive coordinator or like what? This game is useless.
There's a lot of yeah. Well,
they already hit the portal or the coaches left. This game is completely useless. If you paired Notre Dame with Miami, maybe we'd have something. If you paired Notre Dame with anybody, we would have somebody. Like even give me Notre Dame LSU, something. They just did this with every single one of them. I mean, I have a bunch listed that they could have done. Like I said, we could have got another Bedlam. We could have got even Coastal at North Carolina would be cool.
Sure. That'd be awesome.
West Virginia Coastal would be cool. Play to your fucking identities. It's just, dude, I want you to grade these.
You know what one really killed me a few years back was when they put Michigan at Florida State or at Florida rather, or in the Peach Bowl, which was like the third time in 3 years they had played when the opportunity, and then they put UCF against LSU in the Fiesta Bowl.
I went to that game. Yeah.
Florida versus UCF in the Peach Bowl was both regional, would have filled out the stadium completely with those fan bases and would have had huge stakes. But Florida didn't want that.
Corruption. Hold on. So look, I'm going to quickly go through. We're going to get out of here in like 5 minutes. Tell me if you're excited for these matchups. Georgia Southern against Ohio.
I mean, MAC versus Sunbelt. It's hard to
You
get.
could have done Georgia Southern against 6-6 Georgia Tech. Failure.
Teams will play though.
Right?
I mean, I think most of the rosters will play. So
still would have been nice to see Georgia Southern against Georgia Tech, especially when they have the opportunity to.
Yeah,
they didn't do it. Jacksonville State, Louisiana.
I kind of like
decent.
I like this one. This one got the pass for me. This one got the pass.
Yeah.
Miami, Ohio, Appalachian State. Fail.
Yeah.
Fail. App State could have played a slew of teams that would have been very interesting.
Miami, Ohio won the conference though, and App State played in the conference championship. I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's terrible.
What?
I'm sure both teams could have played more compelling matchups.
That's what I'm saying. Like, give me Miami, Ohio against fucking Northwestern or something. Some 6-6 team in the Big Ten. Minnesota's 5-7. Give me Miami, Ohio, Minnesota. App State, Boise State. App State, Boise State would be fantastic. Two of the best mid majors, right? App State, NC State.
App State, Duke.
Guess what? App State, Duke. You could go one by one and find all these. They would be a lot better. App State, Memphis would be a lot better. You could go one by one. They fail. New Mexico State, Fresno State. Guess what? This game sucks. You know why? Because we see it in like 6 months. This is a game on the schedule.
Really?
Next August or September.
I actually think that's a decent matchup. It's
but
got
why,
a little bit of regional flavor to it.
Right, but why do it when we're
why do it if we have it in September?
True. That makes
this is stupid.
No, UCLA Boise's not bad.
No, failure.
Well, Boise recruits Southern California a lot. That's not a bad matchup.
It's not a horrible one, but UCLA, you could have paired them with a better opponent. Tennessee, UCLA could have been cool.
Let me tell you what.
Kansas,
we sound like a bunch of fucking
would have been
whining
cool.
assholes right now. And I'm going to say this. Unless we have our own system that, like we want, specifically delineates what makes a good bowl matchup, right? Then we can take our opinions of whether these games are compelling or not and fuck off, because some people might find them compelling. But if we have our own system, like you said, border battle, in state, similar records, or new Power 5 versus Group of 5, all of those things can make a matchup compelling. If we have those established and they're still not hitting on those metrics, then yes, we can complain a little more about it.
What do you mean, though, dude? If TV execs are in charge, they can dictate whoever the fuck.
They should know.
We wanted to bitch for like an hour and a half straight, okay? Don't interrupt our bitching.
Yeah, I don't even understand it. Like, the teams have opted out before. You know what I mean? Fuck, Florida State still might opt out for all we know, right?
If we can't bitch about bowls, can we go bitching about the playoff committee?
Well, yeah, we can go one by one on them too. But hold on. So I will say UCLA Boise's probably one of the better ones, but I still am not. They still fucked it up to me, right? They really just shit the bed kind of on all of it. Troy, Duke, it's like these games suck.
Cal
Utah and Northwestern.
That game sucks. That's
oh my god! Like
Cal and Texas Tech doesn't do much for me either.
And Rob, I would actually like San Jose State Coastal. I think they fucked up. Coastal is like. I mean, I guess the snobs against the but I think like it would be better if it was Stanford Coastal or something. Coastal having the opportunity to potentially play West Virginia or North Carolina or NC State, I think would have all been a lot cooler.
Keep it regional. That's why we love college football. The regionality.
Well, or if you do it, you go all the way. You should match up Coastal and Northwestern because the culture shock. You know what I mean? Like nerds against. So they just fucking failed, man. I'm not excited. Kansas UNLV, come on. You could have done Kansas UCLA. That would have been awesome. Fans would have loved it. It'd have been fucking high 60 points for each team. All that bullshit.
Yeah, little things like that, like whether you can do a contrast of styles or two extreme styles playing the same style against each other. Those are things that make a game fun that you could also put into our, little list of things that make a game fun. And then maybe we'd have more of a right to bitch.
Now, I did think NC State, Kansas State was intriguing.
Why?
Just because I feel like that's one they kind of got right.
Should be a pretty good game.
Seems kind of boring.
Really?
I mean, it does seem random. There's no connection there. There's no tie-in. That seems.
But what
random.
are you gonna do with K-State? I thought. Look, I did this for every fucking team. We could do a 10-hour episode. It took me 15 minutes. Kansas State, I would be the one I want to see most. But because you don't want to do the same conference unless it's Bedlam, because that should, you know what I mean? Like right. You don't want to do the same conference. So
extenuating circumstances there.
So you're kind of fucked as far as like, okay, Kansas State's kind of in a zone where they won so many games that they shouldn't probably draw a group of 5. You know what I mean? So then it's like you're looking. I'll say K-State Tennessee would be appealing.
Like unless it's a super high group of 5, but
yeah. So I'm trying to be reasonable here and not just pair up, Tulsa and fucking Kansas State because they're next to each other. You know what I mean? Like, but I just think they really fucked up. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm done.
Generally speaking, I agree with you. I think that there are obvious matchups that you just look at it and you go, that's a good matchup, especially with the New Year's 6.
Dude, there is none on this. The
New Year's 6 this year, I'll say the one game that could be possibly compelling, they got right. And actually, Penn State, Ole Miss, I'm a little curious to see which team is better. But
that one gave I marked like 5 that got a pass for me. Ole Miss, Penn State was one of them. Right.
So one solution of getting a better bowl season, which bowl season has just deteriorated year after year. Back 10, 15, 20 years ago, bowl season was great.
Yeah.
So one solution is have better matchups. The other solution, why don't we pull like an NBA where they're giving like this money for this like in-season tournament? Put some money on the line for each game. Then maybe some of these players play. Maybe people care.
Yeah. I like it. I like that.
What game is worse? SMU Boston College or Rutgers Miami?
Or at least Auburn, Rutgers Maryland. Miami has
or Auburn Maryland. I think Auburn Maryland might be
the worst.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cal Texas Tech. That's up there.
It's a shitty one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's call it. We bitched enough here.
I think so.
Yeah, the sport sucks. I'm out. Let's watch college basketball. All right, folks,
NFCS,
subscribe.
right?
Folks, subscribe to the FCS College Football Experience, where a real playoff and a real champion is crowned.
But we'll also be back on Wednesday talking about
Army Navy. Army Navy. Yeah, don't worry. I'll shit on the rest of the Bulls when Wednesday we go live. All right. So if I missed your bowl game of Utah and Northwestern,
dude, Arkansas State, Northern Illinois. Wow, that's a game.
I wouldn't. They really just they shit the bed here on all of these matchups. All of them. 90% of them suck. Folks, give Patty C a follow on Twitter, Patty C831, NC Nicks on Twitter at NC__NICK. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. Noah Beanick behind the scenes. It's on Twitter at NoahB77_. We'll be back with the college basketball experience. Once again, a nice postseason in that we actually find out who the best team in the nation is. That will be back around 9:00 Pacific here. So, and if you're watching this on YouTube, just stay put. It's going to redirect you there. So do all that shit. Get the SGPN app. It's free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. Until next time, this is the college football experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with a camera.
Absolute shit.